What's up, everybody? Leon here, and it's been a year and a half since I last uploaded a video, but I thought I'd share another three manga that I read during that time. Some of these are going to be manhwa, some of these are actually not manhwa or manga, but they all follow the Isekai time travel genre, and they all have overpowered characters. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first manga that I want to share is actually a manhwa. It's called Return of the Mount Hua Sect. Now, the Mount Hua Sect, if you're familiar with Chinese folklore and wuxia novels, is a clan. And so this story is about a guy that gets to the top of the world as one of the three sword saints. He's called a plum blossom sword saint. And he manages to slay this evil clan master, demon king sort of character. But then right as he dies, and everybody dies along with him, and he's the last person to survive, and also the last person to die with the evil character. Right as he dies, he gets transported through time to 100 years later. And 100 years later. And 100 years later, he is in the body of this young little slave boy. And the first thing that he does, obviously, is to find out what happened to the Mount Hua sect after this fearsome battle. And so what he finds out is all in the first chapter. What he finds out is the Mount Hua sect that was so popular and so feared and revered before is no more. And so this is a story of this young man, little boy, joining the Mount Hua sect when it's declining and trying to have the Mount Hua sect back to its glory days again. And in this journey, there's a lot of fights, a lot of martial arts, a lot of backstabbing, and it's super interesting if you're interested in something like that. And obviously, he's the sword saint from 100 years ago, so he can pretty much beat everyone. The second manga manhwa I want to share from you isn't actually a manga or a manhwa. It's called The Beginning After the End, and this is a Isekai manga, true to its genre. Starts out with a warrior king that conquered, literally united the world under his monarchy. He dies, and then he gets transported to another world. So he comes from a world of sword arts and martial arts, and it matters a little bit in the beginning. But in this world, his martial arts matter a lot less. This new world is populated by people who can use magic. And him, as the main character in this new world, was born with the ability and the knowledge from his previous world. Not only that, it allowed him to awaken multiple elements in magic in this world. And so this is a story of just this little kid getting born as a baby with all the knowledge from his previous life, and he's building up his magical repertoire. He's combining different magics. He's learning magic from different races. And throughout the story, obviously, he gets belittled a little by people who think they're too good. But then he beats them down anyways, and so that's always satisfying to see. He's got a lovely family. He actually gets a familiar, and I won't tell you what the familiar is, but it's literally the author of this comic just raining blessing onto this main character. Super interesting manga. I do think that there are a little bit more cliches than I wish It would have, but you'll see what I mean when you read it. Anyways, it's a good manga. I love the art. I love how everything's colored. That seems to be the standard nowadays. And so, if you're interested in a manga that's all about magic, all about different races, different creatures, and fantastic magical battles, then the beginning after the end is for you. Alright, guys, the last manga I want to share with you today is a manga called Leveling with the Gods. And I really love it when they create a manga or manhwa, in this case, that is relevant to the mystical properties and figures of our world as we know it. And so that's exactly what Leveling with the Gods is. It's literally like Tower of God, but with a twist, right? With a twist. The rankers are real mythological figures, like right? Figures like Zeus and figures like Hercules and figures like Wukong, right? So a bunch of gods from different cultures and backgrounds mixed together to create this manga, and in the centerpiece is our human main character. The whole story is about the battle between the inner gods and the outer gods, and you'll know what those are as soon as you get to read this manga. But basically, there's a huge battle between inner and outer gods, and one side loses, obviously, right? In this case, it's the side with Wukong and our main character. And so what ends up happening is that Kronos, the god of time, uses his final little bit of power to send our main character, who started from the beginning, back in time. So he has one more chance to win the war between the inner gods and the outer gods. And it's just this human. And so there's a picture of Wukong, right? And it's just this human. And so the human goes literally back in time to his school days, with all the knowledge of exactly what is going to happen. And this time, he makes use of that. And he makes use of that to become stronger. He makes use of that to unlock secrets. And he literally makes use of that to be miles above everybody else that is leveling alongside him when that dungeon tower appears. And obviously, here's our main character, good-looking human being, okay? And so he's going to go back and he's going to do his thing, and he's leveling with the gods, and it's super interesting how the gods take on some of their attributes. Their battles not only is with the gods, they also battle different mythological creatures. That's also a part of the story. So it's super interesting that everything's interconnected in that way. And things start getting a little bit out of control when he starts changing the past. So the future that he once knew is also starting to change. So as he influences the past more and more, he actually loses his grasp of what the future will be like, and so it's not boring, right? Like he has to make his own decision. And that's the one commonality that I like for all three of these mangas, even though one of them you're going into the future, one of them you're going into the past, and one of them is full on isekai, is that in all of these stories, the character is overpowered, don't get me wrong, but they are not God. There is an enemy. There is an antagonist out there that they have to overcome. And I think that is what makes these mangas interesting. And so if you have time, go ahead, check these out. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And hey, who knows? You might actually even see another video from me not too long or too far in the future. Maybe in like 6 months.